So, welcome back to another episode of Team Talks. I'm delighted to have 4 very special guests for me. The format of the show is very simple. It's like our own little team talk in the dressing room where we're going to share some wisdom. Everyone's brought a question, but before we start, we're going to start with introductions. So I'm going to start with Bruce to my left.
Thanks so much, Josh. Yeah, Bruce, owner of RAM Automation. It's robotics programming and coding based in the US. UK company is a small UK construction company specialising in kitchens and joinery. Good balance of different sectors there.
Nice. Thanks, Bruce. Julie?
Julie Watling, founder and business development director of Communications Solutions UK. We're a managed service provider providing all IT, telephony, in and out. We do ICT, information and communications technology, with ICT, integrity, care and trust.
Nice. Nicely said. Joe, coming to you.
Thank you. Yeah, my name's Joe. I'm from Canon CBC. So we are a workplace technology company that encompasses a lot of Canon hardware and software, traditionally managed print solutions, but we get involved in big scanning projects. We do a lot of sort of process automation, document management, and other sort of solutions around that.
Cheers. Last but not least, Mr. Bray.
Jamie Bray, MD of Job to Career. We're a recruitment business that specialists across multi-sectors from sales and marketing, finance, accountancy and professional services.
Nice. Well, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. Let's start with our very first question. Let's come to you, Joe, for this one.
Okay, so my question was, what do you do to maintain a healthy work-life balance, and also any measures that you put in place to keep stress to a minimum?
Okay. All busy people. How are we managing stress, Bruce?
Yeah, so I think one thing I learned, I think everybody learns the hard way, is understanding your limits, trying to grow the business beyond what it's currently set to do, right? So I found myself taking on more and more work, and then it was just detrimental to the business because we would just end up missing targets, missing deadlines. And then I just sort of worked an approach of, right, if I want to expand or take on an extra job, I'm going to bring on more people, and if I don't bring them in, then we don't take it on. So we maintain the quality. Because I was just getting so stressed, it was just impacting everything else that was going on. So that's how I figured it, just not to understand what your limits are, and work within your limits.
It sounds to me like don't bite off more than you can chew.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to learn.
Because I think when you're just starting a new business or business is going well, you're so excited and keen just to keep putting everything into it that you kind of lose sight of what you're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Jamie, managing stress, work-life balance. What's your perspective?
I think it's a really difficult one. I think anyone that owns a business finds control something really difficult to let go of, because you're proud, you work hard, you do what you do, and I don't think it's an element that you don't trust your team around you, but there is that element, especially when you first start a business. I feel that you are very much. I think it's a really tough one, and I think Bruce is right. There's that element where you go in, can we take this on, find our feet? But I think I think there is so many components, and I don't think there's a definitive right answer to what it is, because I think there are moments where work will be mad, and then there'll be moments where work is controllable, or you're in control of that situation. And I think it's just recognising those periods, that you're going to have busy periods, and you just recognise when you've got those down periods to use it in the right necessary way. And I think for me personally, I've got a very young family. I've got an amazing wife behind me, which helps. But I think there's even moments where you don't even really know what to do. So I think it's a really tough one, but it just trying to those small moments in time to.
Is there anything that you do that helps you blow off steam?
I'd say golf, but my golf is
That's stressful.
Horrendous at the moment. I think. Do you know what? I think time with the family. Yeah. I think it's because it allows you to really think about what your driving force is. We've got Hattie who's 2, Pippa who's 4, and to have those moments, whether that's just going for a walk or going and doing an activity, that's kind of that. I guess it also helps you realign your focus, because there's moments where I think you're living I don't want to sound like a business coach, but you're sort of living in the business, and they talk about, you know, working on the business rather than living in the business. But I think we're so human that you're so proud and you want to do well, that actually those little moments of magic with families, loved ones, friends can be a huge benefit.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Jamie. Julie, manage your work-life balance, stress. How do you deal with it?
Be organised.
Okay.
Okay, so I think the first thing is, you know, we all take on probably too much, but be organised, be flexible, actually do some planning, which is like you're saying, you know, don't just jump straight in, but actually think about what you want and set priorities and look at things in perspective. So, you know, if something happens to one of your loved ones, that's your biggest priority. So actually start to focus on what really matters. It's taken me quite a long time to get to the point where I'm at, but I think it's really important to have a look at what is the priority in your life and decide on that and make everything else work alongside it. Be flexible, but be organised and plan, because that is key to success.
And on planning, what's your process for that? How often are you like sitting down and thinking about your priorities? You got any tactics or words of wisdom on that for us?
So we should do it all more often than we do, but I suppose we have monthly management meetings. We start to look at it on a monthly basis. We start to look at quarterly figures as apart from an annual thing, because priorities move, the environment moves, the economy moves. You know, you actually have to just keep realigning and focus. And in terms of managing stress, for me personally, one of the things that I found over the years is I've done yoga, I do Pilates, do aerobics, and that gives you a sort of self-awareness of when you are under stress. Gives you techniques to breathe, techniques to actually be quite mindful about what you're doing, and sort of, you know, you talked about control, self-control in and sort of just calming yourself down. And to me, I think that is really important because it's really easy to get passionate and carried away otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, to recognise that.
I mean, because my answer, even though it sounded very sensible, I still don't do it to this day.
Yeah.
I will still take on too much work, and I still ignore my own advice. But one thing I have got quite good at is just not getting stressed about the endless things. The kids are okay and the house isn't on fire, so I'm quite happy with the way things are, you know. So ignore
Nice.
advice.
Yeah, that sounds very like Buddhist of you. Very indeed. You know, stress though is an interesting one, isn't it? Being a business owner and having like I have a young family like you do, and it's a lot to manage, isn't it? And I think, like, I was thinking about, well, how do I manage stress? I think I should have more massages. I quite like having a massage. But also, I do find myself watching, if I've had a really long day or a busy day or a tough day, I'll watch like The Office in the evening or a bit of like Alan Partridge. I find that really just like just zones me out, and I have a little bit of a chuckle.
But it's also so tough to zone out.
Yeah,
I'm totally transparent in that. I love work. I enjoy what I do. You know, I enjoy helping people, and we've got other interests that I'm also involved with. But you know, the main drive with the recruitment side, genuinely, I do enjoy it. So my biggest issue is no matter how much I try to shut off, there is still an element, and you know, Bruce is absolutely right. And there's moments where my wife will be like, that they're not on fire. You can wait an hour to take that call, and you'll be, I'll quickly take it, and then you end up getting it wraps. And I guess that's still something for me to learn with. And as you grow and you begin to have more and more layers within businesses and stuff like that, it means that you can step away. But Bruce is right.
But I think one of the things that children of that age, I mean, gosh, mine are gone all through that stage, spending some time with the children, even if it's only because you read them a bedtime story or you help at bath time, you can't focus on the other things if you're not giving kids the attention at those minutes. So, I mean, I think that also helps to sort of, well, for me, it would help take you away from the sort of day-to-day, trials and tribulations, and actually focus on what's important. It's your kids, and at that age,
It is special when they're so like.
Yeah,
so young.
it is. Yeah.
My daughter woke up last night at like 10 o'clock and she was crying, so one of us to go in. I went in and like settled her and she fell asleep on me, and I was just really enjoyed like 10 minutes of just like having a cuddle and just like sitting there. It is.
Do you want to come round ours? We could do that for Pippa and Hattie at times. Not so much Pippa, but Hattie just.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, kids are just a completely different dynamic. Like when people talk about business, when they talk about relationships, when they talk about anything, kids are another level because they just wouldn't swap them for the world. But yeah, I mean, it just...
You do know a lot of people have said to get rid of your phone when you walk in the front door.
Yeah.
Because that's a sort of a constant distracted ping. I'll just check that email because I'm waiting for some information or to hear something from somebody. I haven't done that.
Yeah,
I feel like I need to.
Yeah,
but
I have tried that. I heard that from somebody a couple of years ago where he walked in at like, say it was 6:30, whatever the time was, and he put his phone away for like an hour and a half,
Right.
and he put it in a drawer. And when I have done that and I've been disciplined against it, it has been quite nice because I'm trying to lose the addiction of being next to my phone, and I'm much more present. My partner would be like, if you're with us, I want you to be with us and not on your phone because it's so easy to get like distracted. But as it was your question, Joe, like, how do you manage stress at the some I know hopefully that's helped you in terms of some insights.
Yeah, absolutely great. Yeah. Funny, the yoga thing I wrote down because that sort of keeps cropping up when I've had that conversation with somebody. This is probably something I probably need to have a go at.
Well,
I'm not
this is
very
on camera.
flexible,
This
but,
is on camera, by the
yeah,
way.
yeah,
So that's a
doing
commitment
yoga
to
won't
Joe taking up yoga.
I heard it.
Can I just say one other thing? Take holidays. Yeah, because when I first started in business, it was really hard to think, I'm going to take time out. And my husband insisted that we had holidays, and we would regularly go sailing, and he would book places where there was no phone signal. So we'd end up
That's good strategy.
in places where, we were very much living in the moment with family and with the weather and what we were doing, and there was no distraction.
Yeah.
And I think that is about recharging your batteries, getting away from it, and certainly helps with the work-life balance.
Nice.
Yeah, but funny enough, the holidays was. I'm quite good at having holidays, but I've found that again the distraction, and I was sort of dipping in and out of work, and it was. So, and then I didn't like just completely switching off because then in my mind it's all just building up in the background. So I can't just switch off 2 weeks and come back because this is this thing that's growing in the background that I know what they're trying to tackle when I get back. So probably in the last year, I've just when I have a cup of coffee in the morning, I'm on holiday, I'll just spend half an hour max, and I'm just keeping that sort of pile to a minimum, if you like. So I'm just dealing with the immediate things, and then actually that's much better for me because then the rest of the day I can be on holiday and not have to worry or think about where I'm just being completely,
Need to delegate too.
Yeah.
Right, as we're on, before I move on to the next question, I'm just going to segue slightly because I was talking about TV programs. I'm looking for recommendations. So I want to just throw this in as a little curveball to start us off. Favourite TV program or a recommendation? I'm looking for series, actually, but TV series.
I don't watch series because I don't like the commitment of having to watch the same thing. I'm not going to do it. The only thing, actually, I think it's coming back on soon. It's the new Game of Thrones thingy.
Okay.
That's coming back on in a week or two. So that's the only thing I'm going to watch. Only because I'm like 11 years in, so I'm already committed.
You're fully in
but
now.
I won't get involved in anything else.
Okay. Game of Thrones fan. Bruce, didn't have you down as that? But it's nice to learn a bit about you.
Well, do you not know? I'd never watched it. And then I was working offshore. I was off Africa. We had no diving to do. So someone had given me a hard drive and there was all 8 series. And I was like, right, this is my month. And that was it. I just watched it then. Yeah.
Nice. Jamie, any recommendations?
You can't go far wrong with The American Office. I love The American Office. And you know what you were saying about you go out to bed?
Yeah.
I think it drives my wife insane. I think we've done it about 5 times. So easy watching, so funny.
Yeah.
I think it wipes the floor with the English Office. You know, like Kevin's my favourite in accounts. He just...
My brother loves The American. I haven't seen it. I haven't committed myself to watching it.
Listen,
So I love the original.
You have to watch the first series. It's a bit slow.
Okay.
But then because they start off the first series trying to be very American.
Uh-huh.
They're trying to do British comedy in American. Doesn't work. It slowly and then it just makes sense. And the characters that you see in that we've all experienced.
Yeah.
You know, like Michael Scott is the inappropriate sales manager who says everything that's wrong in the world, managing to get the job done because he's got an unbelievable team, and then he's got a guy called Dwight Schrute who's like this character who is not all the ticket, but he functions in this world and he's a top salesman, and you don't understand how he does it, but he does it. And then you've got, you know, in this love connection with Jim and Pam, it genuinely, the whole thing is brilliant. And just you sit there and you go, this is unbelievable, because the amount of people that I can go in my head and go, that is literally them. And I'm not going to name any names because we know a few of them. But I can't recommend it enough.
Okay.
And we are Wrexham as well. Welcome to Wrexham.
Okay.
How many series is there of The Office already?
I want to say, this is
I
going to
feel
say...
like I'm already invested.
Yeah, I would say I think there's about 11 or 12 series and there's 22 episodes.
I ain't got time for that, Jack.
Bruce, I promise you, you'll get into bed tonight, you'll bang and
I'll
you'll
do
go.
one tonight.
Yeah, but as I say, the first series you have to just power through. After that, it's unbelievable.
Nice.
Learn the characters, I suppose. That's it.
I like it. Julie,
If I said I don't watch TV,
if you don't, you don't.
no, I don't. No, I don't really watch TV.
Podcasts? Podcasts?
I listen to TED Talks.
What's your favourite TED Talk?
Oh gosh, that's hard.
There is.
Yeah,
There's
'cause
so many good ones.
So many good ones. Yeah, I mean, you know, going years back, my son used to watch Big Bang Theory, and he used to think that was a good laugh.
Yeah.
But I just feel like time with other things.
Nice.
Probably because, you know, I've been working, I've been sort of taking time out, I've spent time with family. So yeah, but yeah.
I'll take Big Bang Theory.
You'll take Big Bang
I'll
Theory.
take that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Good sense.
Joe, any recommendations? for us?
All I'm allowed to watch tonight is Grizzly and the Lemmings, a bit of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, the TV's been taken over. I don't know, I was thinking about that. I don't watch a lot, but I do really like the new Star Wars stuff on some Disney thing, I think, isn't it? But I love that. I think it's wicked. The last Mandalorian and Boba Fett.
Okay.
Really cool.
Well, a couple of recommendations there for our viewers and listeners. And Bruce is committed. We've got yoga so far.
Yeah.
We've got, going to commit to this
American
tonight.
Office, Bruce,
doing it.
I'm
So
telling
want
you.
to.
Jamie and Julie, I see interested to see what you guys commit
We're having
to
an
by the
office
time-
night.
by the time that we finish this. But let's get back to the questions then. So, Julie, let's come to you. What's your question?
My question is around AI. So, do you perceive it as an opportunity or as a threat?
Okay. Who wants to go first? Gents.
Yeah, so with AI, I mean, when you look at all the different sort of variants of AI, so Google Maps, getting around, brilliant. A chatbot, the worst thing in the world, the most useless thing in the world. I don't know if you've ever used one. You've done the virtual chatbot thing where it's AI responded and then you just get nowhere and then it says, call this number anyway. So that kind of stuff is useless. But in the broad speak of things, I think it's such a vast thing that we're not really prepared to sort of all the avenues that can sort of open up. Useful sometimes, a bit concerning in others. Just that something can. You've seen all the deep fake AI simulations where they take someone who's well known and then they sort of creating a speech. That kind of stuff is a bit worrying because it is really quite realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Using any AI at all?
Yeah, we do. So we use it in our programs and codes, but not to the extent of where it's going to. It's all quite controlled and regulated. And again, this is where it comes in. Everything that we use, we have a quite secure facility for this very reason, because all the code and software that we have is quite valuable, because if we're working for a car manufacturer, they want theirs protected. So we have to keep that quite secured. And then sort of the influence of AI sort of can sort of put that at risk.
Yeah.
So if I was going to ask you opportunity or threat, which way would you go?
I'm going to say threat if I had to. Just because I just see the risks outweigh the benefits.
Yeah.
I can get around without Google Maps.
Yeah. For me, I'm old enough to remember the dawn of the internet. And I think there was the same conversation around that at the time. Is it an opportunity or is it a threat? Yeah. And you can see that people have used the internet for opportunity and for gain, and it's all been great for us. We've got access to a lot of information. And there are people who are using it badly for scamming, for phishing, and AI is going to be exactly the same. And it's really how it's controlled, how it's positioned, and it's going to give you a huge competitive advantage if you get on the bandwagon now. But equally, it needs to be regulated in a way that means that it's going to be a safe space.
Indeed. Jamie?
I think I'm going to work backwards on this. I don't think I could definitively give you an answer if it's going to be a threat or an opportunity, because I don't really know a lot about it. Not because I think it's above my station intellectually, which it probably is, but I haven't really brought into it too much. I mean, certainly there's aspects of chat, GPT, that we use and bits and pieces like that, but I think it's all quite bizarre, because it's almost when you go, now I'm not a sci-fi man, but the recent, I feel one of the Terminators literally is about AI, how this is learning to adapt. And I know it's extreme and it's a movie, but there really could be that risk. And I think there's definitely a risk of it, but there's also such a wonderful opportunity. Because I don't know enough about either side, apart from the generic, oh, well, it could be really dangerous because it could take control of the machines and blah, blah, blah. But also the other side, I think it's for me personally, really difficult to talk about. But the positive side that I would say is someone like me that I'm dyslexic. I'm quite open about it, just because sometimes you might receive emails that says like the same word twice, and that's never gone against me, because we deal with large kind of £billion companies and stuff like that. But that's more of a hit up for me. Now, the chat side has been helpful for just helping with grammar, like being brutally no different to what Word was when it first come onto the scene to highlight. You know, apart from occasionally it will change it to an American spelling rather than a British spelling, but I'm sure there's a way that you can do it, but that's also above me. But it's really unique. It's exciting, but nervous, because you know, everyone's frightened of change. But I think certainly for me personally, I don't have an opinion on it, but the small aspects that I have used have been helpful for
you personally?
For me, yeah.
And nice. Joe?
There's this sort of opportunity for us, talking for us as a business. So historically, the business was managed printers, and that's obviously evolved over time to, you know, we're helping a lot of businesses with digital transformation, and some of our solutions, you know, we're utilising AI to save people time and money. We haven't plugging things, but we've got an accounts payable invoice processing solution that one of the many things it does is it stops somebody having to go through endless statements with a ruler trying to find a discrepancy in an invoice, where it can just be done like that. And then actually, you know, for them as a company, do they want to pay somebody for days on end just to go through as a manual task like that? Or they could take that manual task out, they can automate it, it's all taken care of. It's not, we're not replacing that person's role, they can do things that are a lot more efficient and of value to the business.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. AI is a tool to automate things that are mundane, routine, admin, and give people time to spend on the skills that they really have that add value, and probably the things that they enjoy a bit more. Right?
Yeah, I do think that from a business perspective, it's a huge opportunity, because it's not going away. Like Pandora's box is open, right? Genie's out of the bottle, and if the humans that use it will be way more competitive than the humans that don't use it.
Absolutely.
So I don't think as business owners, leaders, we've got any choice apart from to embrace it, just so that we can be competitive. So just a couple of examples of stuff that we're using internally. A piece of software called Opus Pro that we've been using. So we'll take this podcast of like an hour and we'll upload it into Opus Pro, which we pay £20 a month for, and it will cut it into like 32 videos, all with subtitles over the top. And social score them, so that does that for 20 quid. right? And it does it in like 15, 20 minutes. I think I'm right in saying that. And another one that we're using is something called Instantly AI, which is a email outreach platform. So you can upload email addresses and send it, but you can also use the AI to do prompts. So you can be like, I don't know, for example, hi Julie, and then it will do a personalized message about something recent, and it will do that and send it out. So I've just seen those two things that are very cheap, like, and how quick and efficient they are in terms of making us more competitive. Now, I don't necessarily need a member of the team. So I think, to your question, my perspective on this is it's a huge opportunity, and otherwise we're going to get left behind if we don't if we don't incorporate it.
Can I just as a general question, and this isn't, I don't know the answer, hence, is it regulated yet? Is there a way that, I mean, for certain organisations have, you know, if you're talking about PETA, for example, you know, if you're dealing with animals, there's a regulation and what you follow. Is there anything that is in place at the moment for this to protect the user, the provider, etc.?
So as far as I'm aware, there's very strict control. As a Microsoft partner, we actually have to sign up to a policy that says we're going to use it for good and that we're not looking to defraud people or that we'll sell it to businesses that we have some doubt about. But I suppose you could say that's a voluntary code at the moment.
Governments are definitely grappling with this at the moment. Like, how do we legislate? How do we control this? Because the negative aspects of it, same as there's humans, there's always going to be bad actors in society, right? Loads of good people, and the bad ones are going to use it for bad things. So it's how do we regulate against that?
And to a certain degree, of course, you know, they're a criminal. We had the police, but they're still criminals. But my point is, I didn't know if you are a provider of AI, so to speak. There is a set regulation that you have to follow. So at the moment, it's kind of a bit of a free-for-all, really.
It's not like a GDPR controlled environment.
I think it's developed so quickly. There's been no time. I am going to change my answer though. So it is.
Say again?
I am going to change my answer. I'm going to side with you. It is beneficial. I just feel like when AI meets social media, that's when it becomes a problem, because I don't think there's any reason for there to be an AI social media anything like that in existence, because that's never used for anything good, from what I can see. But for what we want to use it for, it's fantastic.
I mean, I use Copilot, and you know, I can come in and say, so what emails do I need to, you know, put them in order of priority. What do I need to respond to today? Or I actually put in all questions for this session. And he gave me like 10 bullet points for each question. Like, I gave it, you know, I go sailing. What does this teach me? You know, a really interesting kind of thing. It doesn't take away your ability to think, but you have to be able to interpret it, and it's going to be a huge aid. I think there's one really important quote that says, AI won't replace managers, but managers who do use AI will replace those that don't. And that's attributed to Eric Bjornjolfsson. But I mean, I think that is the key thing. You've got to embrace it, because if you don't, you'll get left behind. And increasingly in recruitment, we're going to be looking for people with AI skills, because they're going to be the valuable people that help us move our businesses forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the main thing. All right, great question, Julie. And great prep as well.
Well, I mean,
ChatGPT.
Copilot, But I mean, the thing that I was looking at is, you know, people say, oh, it's going to dumb down the workforce. Well, in some ways, you know, has the internet dumbed down everything? You still have to be able to interpret it. You still have to be able to use it. You still have to be able to present it. It's not going to take people away, but it's going to empower them to do more valuable, more meaningful things, I think.
Good chat, I like it. Jamie Bray, coming to you. What's your question of the day?
Okay, so my question is in regard to your everyday life, but also hobbies, and for me, sport line. What are those skill sets from there have you transferred into business? So from my point of view, where I'm coming from, so coming from a sport background, you learn so much in a changing room environment. I think about personalities, about how to manage people, about different situations, how people thrive under pressure, how some people crumble under pressure. And for me, it's all about that sports relation. And I know we touched on it before, but it's recognising people's trigger points, which, because football, for one, you're in a room predominantly with 20 other people, and you can see the trigger point. And you talk about, I had one of my best mates and one of my former managers, a guy called Ashley Vickers. You knew when he wasn't happy because his trigger points, you could see that he had like this vein in the side of his head that would gradually get bigger and bigger and he'd explode. But you could see that trigger point, and it's okay, of course, you can manage that trigger by doing a better performance. But for me, it's been such a great learning curve, being in a changing room, recognising people when things haven't gone well, and actually you put an arm around the shoulder, you know, how can we do it? And I guess the ability to talk to people and talk to such a dynamic and diverse group of people in one room who come from a different experience of life. You know, some people in a privileged situation, some. And I think that skill set I've transferred in because it gives me the ability to talk to anyone.
Yeah, so that the playing football, you know, throughout your life, learning about team camaraderie and being in the dressing room has been such an invaluable lesson for you and skill that you've taken into business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
And it's, I guess, you know, it's a great connection point as well. Sport is so powerful. I think we talk about, you know, this is all relevant to me. Sport is the most powerful tool in the world, especially football, because it's what I always say to people, it's the language of everything. You could be in the middle of Africa where, you know, with a native tribe. The chances are if you brought out a football and put it on the floor, they would know what to do with it. And I think, you know, that is such a powerful thing. And I think within that, the skill sets that are there about, you know, recognising problem solving, you know, what is that problem? You need to beat a team. How do you beat them? And I think bringing that in with also the added bonus of being competitive is a huge thing. So I guess my question to everyone is, in that type of scenario, what has worked for you and been a powerful tool?
Nice, great question, Jamie. Yeah. Bruce?
Yeah, I mean, so I believe, again, with the question, I think it's a really good question, because I believe if let's go for a sport, for example, or just fitness, if you dedicate a portion of your life and get good at it, what you've done is you've just built yourself a basis for being good in business, as far as I'm concerned, because you've showed that you can commit to something and stick to it to improve. There's one thing that I heard it many years ago, and I always say it to my children: constant repetition carries conviction. So if you just continually repeat something, eventually you will get the benefit from it.
Great saying that.
Yeah, I had it. I didn't make it up, so I can't take credit. But I have it on my laptop. My screens are here, and I've got it on the wall. You know, just to remind me every single day that you just need to keep knocking away at it. So every day, like for me, I go to the gym every single morning. I go to the gym some evenings, and I just continuously do this. And I say it to my kids all the time, which is why I get quite a lot of pleasure from when they do sports and I can see them improve. They can't understand it because they're still quite young, but they will understand one day that basis of being in a sport or being involved in a team environment does make you grow as a person, and you're a much better person for it.
Mm.
Very nicely said, Bruce. I'm going to nick that. I'm going to put it up in my office. Julie?
Yeah, so I thought, nobody's ever asked me that before, and it forced me to think backwards quite a lot. So at school, I was a swimmer as well as a team player. So I used to go swimming training, regularly, 3 or 4 times a week. And for me, it was all about, you know, perseverance, persistence, and training. You know, if you want to succeed, try again, you know. And aside from that, I was quite a sporty type. I played in the netball team, I played in the badminton team, I played in the hockey team. So maybe not necessarily the same dynamics as football, but ultimately it is all about working together, being a team player, and the greater good of the team. And so I think that really set me up for being very competitive in terms of, you know, what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
So to me that's been really valuable. And in terms of what I do today, I think sailing has got to be one of the most characterful, building sport activities that you do. You know, we go sailing on yachts. You're at the mercy of the wind a lot of the time. So you all have to do your own bit. You all have to know what you're responsible for. You all have to be ready to be flexible, adaptable if the wind blows in. You know, we set off to go to the Channel Islands and ended up in Cornwall because the wind's blowing in the wrong direction and it didn't make any sense to sort of go head to wind and have a very unpleasant experience. And again, that's all about planning. It's all about organisation. It's about looking at your routes, the weather, where you can stop, you know, tides. There's a huge amount that's involved in planning and organising. So for me, it delivers so many positive experiences. And one thing I can guarantee, that whenever we go on any extended journey, at some point, I'm going to be out of my comfort zone. And I think whatever sport you're doing, you know, we go skiing too, and that I quite often get out of my comfort zone. But I think that's a learning experience. It's something that you have to step up to, that you learn new skills, recognise that I've pushed the boundary a bit, hey, and feel really good about it. So it's all about learning.
Follow that, Joe. Good luck.
Funny, skiing and sailing. So I'm not. I did when I was younger, but I don't do a lot of sort of team sports now. But yeah, skiing and sailing, what you're saying there, totally agree with. The only other notes I made around sort of hobbies more was, it's quite unhealthy, but I brew my own beer. It's all grain brewing at home. And
You've got a name for it?
What's that?
You got a name for your beer?
No, not
Joe's.
Yet. No. Yeah.
Joe's beer.
Joe's brew.
Joe's brew.
Yeah, Special brew.
And I really enjoy it, and I wrote down, I'm quite an impatient person, and it requires a lot of patience, and it doesn't get lost on me that I suppose I'm putting myself in a position where I have to be patient, and that's helping me work on that part of me being an impatient person. So, and I've tried golf, and that was a step too far in terms of patience. I couldn't quite deal with it, so I still do a little bit, but. Yeah.
Very cool. Lots of extracurricular activities
you know, it's
there.
really interesting what Bruce is saying. So Ash, who I spoke about, he's like my big brother. He's one of the best human beings I know. Done very well in business. Ex-pro footballer, great bloke. And he always says to me, he's like, Jay, like health and fitness, like your mindset. He's like, make it a bad habit. And it took a while for me to twig, and it was only one day I was. What do you mean make it a bad habit? It's like, a bad habit is something that you do without thinking. He said, that's a bad habit. So make it literally part of your routine, that you don't even think about it. You get up, you do it. You know, he's someone who's absolutely dedicated to sort of body and fitness. And he was like, literally, you just get up, you do it without thinking, and it just becomes a part of your routine. And that is still a challenge, obviously. Me and Bruce look like we go to a similar gym, but the point is, I think my challenge is still trying to juggle that around with children and stuff. But I know it's the right thing to do, and I think we are all guilty as humans. We are
human,
right.
aren't we?
Yeah, we know what's right. We can see it. They're totally. I only had the conversation with my wife a couple of days ago that if you actually look at the high percentage of successful, wealthy people, there's not many chunky monkeys in there, because there's that whole process of, you know, they're fit of mind and fit of health and everything. And that's not to say, because, you know,
it depends what your sport is, doesn't it?
Of course.
I mean, if you're playing football, then clearly, like, you gotta be an athlete. Yeah. But in business, there's loads of examples of people like Warren Buffett.
Yeah,
I mean, he just sits around and has Coke every day at McDonald's every morning, but he's one of the richest people, right? I think like it's just cutting it. But going back to like being disciplined, he's very disciplined. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He's extremely disciplined. He knows his whole routine. He's planned it out. He does it every single day. So there's something to be said for that. While we're on sports and stuff, I'm really curious to ask you all, like role models. So if I was to ask you for like a role model from a sporting arena or an activity arena in the public domain that you've always in your life looked up to and been like, yeah, I really respect them. They're a good role model. I'd be interested to hear who you guys would pick.
That's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I never look at people, especially social, I don't know what they're called, celebrities. I never look at them and think, oh, I wish, or I think that's amazing of you, you know. I can't think of anybody that I look at and think, oh yeah.
Not good eye.
No. Sort of what years back, I can't remember what his surname was. I'm sure it was Mark. His name was Mark. He was an American swimmer, and I think he won 7.
Michael Phelps.
Olympic medals.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought that was really inspiring. Yeah.
I think there's facets of a lot of people that I really buy into. So it's like the Tiger Woods, right, for one, without question, one of my favourite golfers of all time. But there was a great interview where you had him and John Daly, and John Daly was like, yeah, I rock up, hit a few balls, have a couple of cigarettes, and off I go. Tiger Woods was like, yeah, so I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'll go for a swim, and then I do a 4-mile run, then I hit some balls and I go back in. And there's that dedication to the art. So you have elements of that, but then you even have the extremes, whereas you look at how talented people were, like George Best, like of a yesterday generation. You know, he basically done everything that you shouldn't have done, but was still functioning at one of the top. And I think it's really difficult to say, because even if you talk about Tiger Woods, there's a lot of stuff in Tiger Woods' personal life that you go, well, hang on a minute, you know, scandal with women and stuff like that. And I think there are so many facets that I actually think it's very difficult, because we are all human, that we all make mistakes. And I think role models are so much drilled into your head that someone has to be perfect. They have to be, they play the sport the right way. I think probably the closest person really is Roger Federer.
Yeah.
You know, been with his wife for years, clearly a good dad, amazing at tennis, there's never been any scandals around him, and he's one of those top athletes. But I'll always go back, for me, are the people that you know personally, the ones that make you tick. You know, I talk about Ash really fondly. He genuinely is. He's one of the best humans I know. He wasn't an elite pro, but he played the game where he was privileged to earn money, and you know, he's someone that I can pick up the phone to, and for me that's a more just as powerful role model as a Roger Federer or whatever. So I think it's always difficult, but I think we do have a wrong perception of a role model has to be someone who's perfect.
Yeah. So we've got Phelps, we've got a couple, but I take your point. Joe, anyone that comes to mind?
No. Wayne Lynn? Now that's a role model.
Yeah.
A sausage role model.
Okay, I said I'll throw some curveballs in there, so they're not all going to be the easiest, are they? Right, Bruce.
On my question?
Yeah.
Yep. So this question, I mean, actually it's quite good, because we've already touched on like the family element. So managing a family and running a business. So everyone knows that kids are the sort of the best, almost the best and worst things you've got to deal with when you're running a business, especially if you run it from home. So how do you know you've got the right balance? I mean, I put this in there because about 2 years ago, the business was so busy and it just grew so quickly. And then I remember being in my office, and then I'm on the phone and I'm trying to do some work, and then the kids are out there playing. They're off school, it's not their fault. And then they were playing, and in the end I put the phone on hold, and then I went and showered at them because they were being too noisy. Went back into my office, and I just thought, I just almost forgot completely while I was doing the work in the first place, and it's for those noisy little animals in the other room. So I put the phone back on. I said, look, I'm going to call you back. I'll call you back later. So I went in and spoke to the kids and said, look, I'm sorry, and we went and did some stuff. They went and played with them. And from that point, I almost put business second. So before then, I was so preoccupied on just doing the business that I was prepared to, you know, sort of put the kids aside and then focus on the business. So that for me, I'm interested in other people's points. They'd probably been to the same position where they got to a point and thought, oh no, where's the balance? Right, so what am I doing? What am I doing this for? So that's my question. How's the balance between running a business and having a family?
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I don't mind.
I'll make space for it, Joe.
Yes, some of the stuff for me was, again, I've got young kids, 2 boys, 6 and 10. And I always promised myself I wouldn't miss any important events. Obviously, birthdays are a given, but things at school that...
sports day.
The typical day, sports day, all those kind of things.
Plays.
I thought if I missed any of those, it just would not sit well with me at all. And so I've always made sure that I've attended those events. A mix of home and office working helps with that, even though they can't understand that I don't finish at the same time as school. But there's another thing I wrote down that I think I just have to make sort of constant sort of tweaks. So constantly sort of reassessing what I'm doing a little bit, really. And it was probably about a year ago, and I was driving to work in, live in Bournemouth, and the office is Southampton. So I'm driving through the traffic in the morning, feeling a bit stressed out. And I kind of had a thought, well, I don't really know why I'm doing this, and why am I sat in this? I don't need to do this. So I just stopped doing it. And I'll either get up earlier and miss it all, or I'll just take the kids to school, come back, drink coffee, do some emails, then I'll sit in the car, I'll go up there and do it like that. So that was just one tweak that I made that had a massive effect on the amount of hours for me in the day as well, because I'm saving a lot of time, so I can be a bit more productive. Yeah.
Nice good little ideas in there. Not missing school trips and so. My kids aren't old enough yet, but I definitely will make sure that's a habit. I wrote down a lot there. I'm like big into routine, so like, although I'm not perfect, right? So I miss a lot of stuff. But I try to put my phone away when I go in from like 6:30 to 8. On a 4 o'clock on a Friday, I have a meeting with the most important meeting of the week with the missus. So we have that at 4 o'clock and just go over like the weekend and what we're doing and stuff like that. Day and I once a month, and then with my daughter at the moment, every Sunday for probably the last year, we always go and have breakfast together. I then take her to Enjoy, which is like indoor trampolines and stuff like that. So I'm trying to mitigate feeling guilty and also prioritising. Going back to a lot of your advice, like on planning it a lot. I think the danger is that it becomes monotonous. Do you know what I mean? Whereas too much routine and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'll have to figure out how to caveat that, but I'm trying to have a strong plan in place because I don't want to feel guilty. And I know that's what the most important thing in life is love and relationships and family. But obviously, like all of you, I'm very ambitious and driven in the business. So I want that to succeed. So it's a fine balance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, to manage mine, I just sort of switched. I now wake up at between 4:30 and 5 a.m. So I can be having my coffee and doing about 2 hours work before anyone's even stirring to get up.
Yeah.
And then when everyone starts getting up, I've already cracked on with about 2 hours of work. So I'm kind of set for the morning.
What time do you go to bed?
I usually get the kids down then about 10, between around 10 o'clock I go to bed.
I think that's smart though. The early hours are like the best ones for that.
Oh, they're the most productive as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jamie?
Do you know what? Really interesting. So must have been about a month ago. No, a bit longer than that. In the previous half term, I had a meeting and Pippa was off school because our half term was slightly different, and had a meeting. And there was a few different things that went in my head, but I wanted to go and have this meeting because it was the long overdue, and it was with Paul Bayliss at the harbour. And I thought, right, how do I attack this? Do I can't make it, or do I pre-warn? And I just thought, do you know what? I met Paul briefly. He seemed a really good guy. Do you know what? I'm going to go for this. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to rock up with my daughter. Because do you know what? We live in a world where life is tough enough. And do you know what? This is either going to show a character of someone and show how they deal with the situation. And actually, it's going to learn a lot for me about if they're going to be right to work with us. So Pippa, I explained to Pippa, we're going for a meeting with Daddy, so you can sit next to Daddy. We got some colouring and some books. We got there and Paul was just amazing. I said, Paul, we've got a guest with us today. We've got my daughter who's 4, is going to be joining us. And he went, well, let's concentrate on the most important agenda. He said, Pippa, would you like cream on your hot chocolate or not? And you just went, I'm in. We can work together. Because actually, for me, he understood what was important in that situation. And it was amazing. And Pippa come and sat down, she had the stereotype. She sat there, smiles at me with cream on her nose. And me and Paul just sat there gone absolutely like a house on fire. And it was genuinely magical. And it was literally one of my favourite meetings I've ever had. And there's still that element, not that I'm going to start taking a Pipital.
Yeah, no, I'm writing this down.
Yeah,
Jamie.
yeah.
I'm
But
like, Jamie's advice, work-life balance,
Yeah,
take kids to work.
and do you know what? It may have gone horribly wrong. She could have come in, had an absolute meltdown or whatever. I knew she wouldn't. But actually, it was an amazing, powerful piece. Because for me, and I think the problem is with business, sometimes it can always seem like a
This is
one-way
like also,
system.
I'm sorry to
I mean,
this is a perfect segue because this is exactly what Joe's done today.
Yeah. That's just like that.
Come and join us for the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Why not? We're actually getting close to the end. Julie, what do you make on this?
So, as somebody with 2 children who started their business 30 years ago, the one thing that I never envisaged, so I love your story, because my son was the reason I set up my company. And I've now handed over the managing directorship to him. So he's going to continue it. And one of the things that I never ever imagined that this would happen. You know, you don't have a baby to think you're going to pass on a business to them, do you? But he has the insight and the skills and the customer service that I've never needed to explain. It's almost like he's absorbed it over a period of time because he's just witnessed how you operate. And it's built into him. You know, I wished I'd had lots more. Hey, it's been said to me before, why didn't you clone them? You know, because actually they're just your DNA. They have the same kind of values, the corporate culture, the way of they've seen you and they've grown up with it, and that's what they expect. And that's to me that's amazing that that you've been able to do that so early. You know, so watch this space.
I know.
So maybe want him to take over.
But like I said,
but
it was also such a gamble because it could have been taken in another way.
Yeah.
And there was lots of things through my head where it was like, okay, is this acceptable? Okay. Actually, no. Do you know what? Like the high percentage of society are parents.
Yeah.
Whether sometimes you want to be a parent when they're having their moments. But actually, there's a huge amount of empathy to understand life.
Yeah.
And I think actually for me, and that's what I was going to say earlier on, I think there is such a drive that when people go to meetings that they have to, you feel like it's a one-way, I'm having to sell myself. This is what we're about. Actually, for me, it's just as important to, interview them as them to interview me because that has to,
You've got to be authentic, haven't you?
you've got to find that level.
And I think one of the things post-COVID is that's a lot more acceptable. 30 years ago when I started, it wouldn't definitely have not been acceptable. But I think that, life's moved on, things have changed.
Which is fantastic, right?
Absolutely, because, your family are a very integral part of you and really, some of the reason why we're all here and working. And I'd say I would go back to, the thing that I can say over the years is the balance changes. So, I'm saying story time now, bedtime, bath time. When they're 15, they won't want to be doing that. It won't be cool. So you're going to look for different activities. Can you do some scouting with the lads? Can you go and join in doing camp? Can you take them sailing? Can you take, daughter out to the cinema? Whatever it is, it's about building those new experiences and building that bond together and getting the balance right. But I mean, one of the things my daughter does with her son that I wish I'd done at the time is she has a concept called quality time. And she might be very busy during the day and hasn't got time to spend with her son, but he knows that he gets this allocation of time. It could be 30 minutes, it could be an hour, depends on the day and what have you. But they will do, and she will do exactly what he wants. So, and he drives that, not her. So it's, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to play a game? Do you want to go out? Do we read a book? What do you want to do? And that has been amazing, and it works so well because it's not like you're putting the child off. You're just saying, yeah, you can have your moments here. Start thinking about what you want, and you drive it. And he really values that, And we all know quality time. He's in charge. We all do what he wants. So, I think that is also good. And again, it's sort of, I go back to what we talked about is prioritising things. And again, make sure you take your holidays, because it's very, I've got members of staff who think, well, you have to chase them to take holidays. And
There are
say,
certain
no,
things,
it's really valuable.
Yeah. Having breaks actually can make you way more productive as well, right?
Yeah.
Like you can overtrain, overwork, and you kind of.
Yeah.
I certainly find that if I'm like, I'm just not being productive at all. So taking breaks is a good productivity tool.
Yeah.
There are stats to prove that, aren't there?
Yeah.
When you sat at your desk staring at a screen, if you're only good for an hour or two, I think
Yeah, I think it's like 90 minutes. You can kind of like do deep work and then go for like a 10-minute break, come back.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of discipline and
we
education.
used to
isn't it?
do, not just, the bigger holidays, but a half term. As the kids got to be teenagers, we'd do sort of like European capitals together, a bit of culture, a bit of language. You can go to Rome, go to Barcelona, go to Paris, open their eyes to the rest of the world and sort of start to understand what's going on.
So actually, that's a good little segue. First of all, I was going to say thank you very much for all being here. I really appreciate it. I found that really enlightening conversation. Good energy here in this little quartet. Is it quartet? 4, 5?
Yeah.
I'll get there. I'm going to finish with a quick fire round. And as we were talking about destinations and stuff, first of all, I'm going to start. What's your favourite place you've ever visited?
Favourite?
Kenya.
Okay.
Ooh. Yeah.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, I was working security on cargo vessels. We stopped there and we were stuck there for about 3 weeks, and it was one of the best 3 weeks of my life. Mombasa in Kenya.
Right, Mombasa, Kenya on the list.
Absolutely beautiful.
Julie?
I've been to so many places. I can't say I've got a favourite, but I did live in France for a while on the Mediterranean, in the Provence. And that was one of the best years of my life. So,
Nice.
Puglia.
Puglia?
Yeah.
That's where you bought a place, isn't it?
Yes. Fell in love with it, bought a place there about a year and a half ago. And yeah, love it. Absolutely love it.
Mr. Bray?
I've got to say Madagascar because that's where we had our honeymoon.
Okay.
So if I don't,
Fond
but
memories.
not the first 3 weeks of the honeymoon, that when we finished off on a little island off of Madagascar called Ile Saint-Marie, closest place to paradise you'll ever experience. No cars, they've got a few tuk-tuks, unbelievable, totally untouched by Westerners. That was amazing. The rest of Madagascar, a bit different. But yeah, I'm going to say Madagascar for brownie points.
Okay, I like it. Next question. Dinner party, one guest, dead or alive. Who'd you pick? Let's go famous as opposed to like,
I was going to
personal.
just say the wife.
Yeah, I know,
because
but
then,
I was going to save you that one and just
Yeah,
put a
no,
caveat
no.
in. You don't have to say that. We'll go with one famous person to have dinner with, dead or alive.
Celebrity. That's a really tough one.
I feel like you could have given us a heads up on that one.
Yeah, I
Mate, I told you, I didn't.
and you're only giving us one as well.
Yeah, I know.
Which is really tough. I don't know. I think just for the pure quirkiness, and you just would have no idea. I think Prince.
Okay.
I think Prince would probably be not a football or cricketer or anyone.
So at the moment, I've got you in Madagascar having dinner with Prince.
I like to. Interesting. I like to move it. Yeah.
Bruce?
I'm going to go way back. So I'm thinking of an Egyptian pharaoh. Let's say
oh God.
Set or something. One of those. Only because every night I don't watch TV, but I do watch documentaries, and most of them are on ancient Egyptians, and I've got questions. So
Yeah, you
it
mean
would
like
be,
Cleopatra?
it would be one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, actually, after some of the podcasts we've done, that's come up a lot. So I'm thinking I might have to run like an excursion to Egypt to maybe get this guy in.
Yeah.
Julie?
Well, challenging, and I was thinking of all sorts of women from Cleopatra to Elizabeth I, but maybe sort of in the current era. How about somebody like Princess Diana, just to get the inside?
Inside track.
Definitely not Prince Andrew.
Okay, Princess Diana. Joe?
David Attenborough? Something just came into my head. Yeah.
These are all far too sophisticated.
They're very sophisticated. I didn't expect anything
I'm like
else.
Prince because I want to hear about the wrongness, and everyone else is like deep.
Right, last question for you is the following. I want to give props to local business people. So I want you to think about a top local supplier that you use. Just give them a shout out.
Top local supplier. Let's start over there because I can't think of
Go on
one.
then, Jamie. Who do you use in your business as a supplier that you would recommend?
Do you know what the problem is? There's loads, but actually I'm going to give a slight curveball, and I'm shout out to Jason and Karen Oliver, purely as to the most incredible people I know who are there for moments of laughter, moments of advice. They're amazing at what they do. And a very, very, very quick story. I was out with someone who's well known in the sporting, and he was having some work done at his house, and he said, we're having a swimming pool done. And I went, oh, fantastic. I said, who's doing your tile? And he said, oh, we've got a builder doing it. And I went, oh, okay, that's fine. Well, listen, if you need a tiler, he's your man. Jason Oliver is the man. And anyway, turns out I spoke to Jason, and he already got the work for that job. So I'm there bigging him up, and then that guy went, oh yeah, we've done it. So yeah, for personal reasons and business reasons, those guys at Global Ceramics.
Top man, Jamie. I do know them both as well. They're all great people. So
they're not great, they're the best.
Joe?
Lee, Town and Country. Yeah, there's all our fans. I mean, they've got a really nice business, really nice sort of family-run business. They're good, really good guys. So yeah, it's a good laugh as well.
Helps.
Yes.
Julie?
Yeah, it's challenging because all our suppliers tend to be really big names with the likes of Microsoft, etc. But I suppose we've got, what we got local suppliers for. Well, we've been, I suppose there's people like Signs Express who do some of our posters and bits and things like that in Reading.
Let's do a Signs Express in Reading.
Yeah.
Give them a shout out. I like it. Bruce?
So I travel a lot. Usually once a month I'm in the US or somewhere. I've got a very big, beautiful German Shepherd who's a protection dog. And there's a company where we bought him from called Phoenix Protection Dogs based in Waterlooville. And they are fantastic because they board, house, train. So every time I go away, they just take him or come collect him at short notice, look after him. He has a great time and comes back really, really well trained. So weight off my mind to know that they're there every time I need to travel, that the dog's looked after.
Nice. Well, Bruce, Julie, Joe, Jamie, thank you very much for being here. Much appreciated. Thanks for everyone that watched and listened. Really appreciate it. Until next time, keep smashing it. Bizpedia out.
Thank you.